Joshua Kitts of the Composed Dream Game Marketplace, and today I want to talk about the Veil. So, what is the Veil, and what would you get if you picked up this book? The Veil is by Fraser Simons of the Sam Joko Publishing. This is actually the second printing of this book. So there are a few revisions inside it. It's a nearly 400-page cyberpunk role-playing game that is powered by the Apocalypse engine. There are quite a few full-color illustrations, full-page, full-color illustrations throughout the book. It is softcover. And there is a fair amount of white space. This doesn't highlight, that page doesn't highlight it particularly well, but there's a fair amount of white space throughout the text. So it's not super crowded or dense. And there's also fairly frequently quotes from Cyberpunk media. So this one here is from Snow Crash. This one's from Ghost in the Shell. This one here on this page is from the Wind-Up Girl. So a lot of inspiration sources have little quotes kind of sprinkled out throughout the text. For those who may not know, Powered by the Apocalypse World engine is a more narrative game. The GM is called, at least in this version, the Masters of Ceremonies. I think they're generally referred to that in Powered by the Apocalypse games. You roll 2d6, and only players ever roll, so the GM makes moves against you. You roll 2d6, add an appropriate bonus for a stat, and if you get 10 or above, you succeed as you intended. Between 7 and 9, you succeed with a cost, and below 6, you fail. Or that 7 to 9 succeed with a cost or fail often just means the MC makes a move against you, which means they're taking some specialized action based off of the rules against your character or having a consequence occur in some fashion. So that could be you're taking harm, for instance, or it could be something completely different. What is the juice in the Veil? The Veil itself, is an important part of the game. So you refer to the Veil, and this is the sort of virtual reality overlay. So everybody is living in the mixed reality where they see mostly what the Veil is, overlaying actual reality, and sometimes can perceive the real reality underlying that. So there's a move in this, so it's one of the base moves, which is lift the veil, so sort of find out what's real. Though that can also be kind of more generically comb through all the reams of endless information that forms part of the Veil. So it's the internet et al. So sift through all that to find out some information as well. Right. So that's a very interesting conceit that I think can make for some very interesting stories, and is thematically appropriate to a lot of future sci-fi, cyberpunk type stories. The Veil uses for that what are you adding when you're rolling dice emotional states, which does make it a little different. So you don't have, say, fight or mobility or something like that as stats. You just have emotions, and you're always using your emotions to add to things. So it's about how you're feeling when you're performing an action, or how an action makes you feel, and sort of what's going on in the fiction at the time that makes your character feel that way, that impacts the role. And that doesn't necessarily mean you should be interpreting it as um, I'm not very good at this thing. No, you're good at everything, but your emotional state is going to impact whether you can succeed well on it or not. So I kind of wanted to find the emotion wheel, which I think is a good reference in here. Yeah, that's right there. So there's 6 emotions. This is a wheel that you can use to kind of illustrate them and try to get on the same page with your players about what you mean. But the advice in the book is also, if this isn't helpful, just don't use it. Or, some people might not find it helpful in your group, and then, again, don't use it. But the idea is that of these 3 emotional states, they're all opposing, so they all have a partner. So sad opposes joyful, and I think peaceful opposes mad, and scared opposes powerful. And you can, as you use your emotions, you have 5 boxes beneath each of these, and if you use up 5, then you what they're calling spike out. So you've emotionally exhausted your resources in that area, and there's mechanics for how you get out of a spike out. So that sort of resets your bonuses for all your stats until you do an alleviate action, which is part of another action. It just changes your bonuses. So I think that's a very interesting. It's a very interesting setup. And it's, I think, part of the juice of the game. So a lot of like the tech and so on in this uses tags, and the tags are meant to be really kind of loose. So what a tag means in your game might be very different from what it means in somebody else's game. So so some negative tags might be things like damaging or unreliable or susceptible or twitchy or addictive, and this might be for cybernetic enhancements that you've had on yourself. So those would be bad things that your cybernetic enhancements might have on them. There is quite the plethora of playbooks in here, which all have custom moves and mechanics that they use along with the standard moves. So there's a lot of variety there. So I'm going to just reference the index here. So there's ones like the apparatus, which you're some sort of construct trying to figure out what it means to be human, perhaps, or alive and inhuman. There's things like the empath and the executive. So the empath actually has some capacity to interact with people when they're have their emotional spiking out, and has some special actions related to that. There's one here that is not connected to the veil in any way. I think it's the honed. So they kind of have these kung fu monk kind of vibe, and have never been hooked up to the veil, so they're Luddites in that sense, which again I think is an interesting playbook. So there are, I want to get this right because I think it's important, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different playbooks, which does give you quite a bit of variety. And there are a couple supplements for the Veil as well that have further playbooks. You probably want to remain within the core rules or within those expansions, because the tone can shift. I also think the session setup worksheets are very useful for this. So they can have, there's a first session one, and there is a sort of setup worksheet for refs to use, and those are very useful. The playbooks themselves are detailed with extensive examples, but like the character sheets aren't directly in this text, so that's something to be aware of. So the character sheets or the playbooks have kind of a standard layout on the first page, and then the second page with all of the special moves for that person. So it's useful to know that there's a much shorter version that kind of condenses down several pages of examples and flavor for a particular playbook into a couple sheets that's easy to grope or easy to review at the table. One of the kind of little extra mechanics is that they have beliefs in here, and beliefs are one way you can gain experience. So if you have 3 beliefs, and if you've challenged one or changed them, there are some bonus experiences you can earn for that to advance your character. So the Veil is $45 on the Composed Dream Game Marketplace for this nearly 400-page book. It is actually 392 pages, sort of an oversized format, very much a graphic novel size. Let me check this against a Marvel graphic novel. Yes, graphic novel sized format. And the PDF is $19 Canadian. Of course, if you buy the hard copy, you also get the PDF always, and that also includes, as a useful download, all the playbooks and ref sheets that you might want to use when you're running this game. So I do hope that's piqued your interest. We do have a couple other Powered by the Apocalypse World engine games from different publishers on the Composed Dream Game Marketplace. That includes Headspace, which is another Cyberpunk game powered by the Apocalypse World engine, and Monster Hearts, where you play the lives of teenagers, the messy lives of teenage monsters in love. We are going to be adding a few new titles from Sam Joko Publishing in the very near future, so please do keep an eye out for those as well. Thank you. I hope this has piqued your interest in The Veil, and good gaming.